Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. It's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. It's Monday morning at 9 a.m., and that means no BS job search advice. What I try to do is talk with you in a very straightforward, direct way about mistakes most of you make in the course of your job search. Because frankly, although the economy is still mediocre, firms are hiring. They're not hiring enough to get people back to work, which means it's that much more competitive for everyone. And you can go about doing things the way you've been doing all along. And the search can take longer than is necessary. But I'm here to try and help you get through to you so that it doesn't take as long as it might otherwise. Because the biggest obstacle that I see is the lack of information and the lack of preparation that most people perform as part of their search. And there was an article in the Atlantic a couple of days ago. The Atlantic is a monthly publication in the United States. It's a somewhat liberal publication, but here they were talking about what you don't get about the job search, and it's a view from employers. And here are a couple of things that their readers wrote in that they look for when they're hiring. Number one, I'm on the lookout for anything at all that shows you don't take this seriously, that you're not well prepared, that you don't dress or carry yourself properly. That's what one person wrote. Another one wrote, most resumes aren't very good. People aren't very good at answering interview questions. I know that. Do you? I've been telling people that for years, that they need to really do their homework. My fourth book is really the single best question you should ask on any interview is really dedicated to helping you get stronger on your interviews. But if you want to keep doing things the way you are, God bless. Take your time. You're going to be out of work longer than a lot of other folks, and you're gambling that the economy is going to get stronger, which, frankly, I don't think it's going to. So, you need to practice your interviewing and write a better resume. You need to, as this person wrote, sanitize your online presence. As someone wrote, those drunken spring break pictures have got to go. And they've got to go a few years before you plan on getting that job, so that they've made their way out of caches, and they're just history. Another person wrote, dress conservatively and act conservatively. There's more detail here, but I think it's a good judgment here. Another person wrote, show up on time. If you can't, call ahead or let them know you're late and why. In the D.C. area where this person wrote from, there's a wreck on 495 is a perfectly acceptable reason to be late or reschedule. So, you can avoid doing these sorts of things. And you can tell yourself some lies about, job interviewing. There's a site called Interview Mastery that talks about some of the lies people tell themselves about interviews. My personal favorite here is the I'm great at my job lie, because they believe that the fact that they're good at their job is enough to get them hired into their next job. Well, how is the employer going to find out if you're good at your job? Answer, they're going to interview you, and they're going to ask a series of interview-type questions that you need to be prepared for. They're not going to say, so are you good at your job? Yes. Great. That was the answer we were looking for. You're hired. They're going to evaluate and assess you based upon a host of criteria that they deem are important that is going to help them come to this decision. And you need to refine your interview skills. Another lie people tell themselves is they're a great communicator. But, business communication in a one-on-one setting is different than what happens on a job interview. Another lie people tell themselves is, because they've interviewed so many people in their career, they're going to do a good interview. Well, I can speak from personal experience about how often when people get to the other side of the desk, they freeze up. They answer questions that are so simple in terrible or at best pedestrian kind of ways, and this is the sort of behavior that will cause people to get turned down, because there's always someone who's going to perform better. Because you've had a practice interview doesn't make you any better than someone else. That you've interviewed people doesn't mean that you have interviewing skills. That you might be the most qualified individual doesn't make you get hired most of the time. When all is said and done, the fact of the matter is that in the U.S. right now, it takes 17 interviews before you get a job offer. That's the statistic. Now, I want you to hear this statistic. There are people who get hired in 2 or 3. That makes that 17 number a lot higher for a lot of other people. Now, you can order any number of books. You can buy mine. You could buy a host of others. Doesn't matter which one it is. I'm not going to get rich on my $9.95 book, that I sell on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and on Scribd, and soon on a couple of other sites. But you got to do your homework. You have to do practice in order to get better. You need to be prepared in order to get better. Like for most people, when they interview, they really don't even take the time to look up the LinkedIn profile of the person that they're going to be meeting with. And there's a ton of information there. And for those of you who don't think yourself so superior, I want you to understand that LinkedIn is just a basic template for a person's background. Yes, it'll tell you where they're working. Yes, it'll tell you what they do there, and that's helpful. But it's not going to give you a lot into the personality of the individual unless you read tea leaves. What I encourage people to do when they go to do some homework about a person and their background, I want you to spend some time looking for some of the personal stuff about them. I'd like you to see if they have a website. See if they have a Flickr feed. See if they have a Twitter feed or a blog. Along the way, you might find out something about them that gives you an insight or allows you to name drop something about them. So, for example, you might discover that they like football or hockey or Audis or art of a certain type or dogs, or maybe you both have kids that are of a similar age. But in the course of your meeting, you can share stories with one another and create that trust and rapport that allows a firm to feel more confident in hiring you. So, in addition, if you use a site like LinkedIn and you find that you know someone who has worked in an organization that this person might have worked at before, see if you can reach out to that person and if they can put in a good word for you. It's a lot better to have social proof. That is, a referral from someone who knows this individual who says, I understand you're meeting with so-and-so. I thought I would just give you a quick call to say I know them. They're terrific. Or, more professional kind of stuff than they're terrific. They can pick out the language, or you can offer them language that will allow you and them to feel comfortable with what's said about you. So, my point here is you've got preparation to do before you interview. And for those of you who think you can wing it, how are those results working for you? How is that really helping you find a job? So, my new BS job search advice for today is, get out there and prepare. Do homework. You've got work to do for every interview you go on. And you need to be prepared when the phone rings, so that your phone interview gets you in the door. So I want to talk with you about some of the jobs I'm recruiting for. And I'm going to start off with a couple of consulting assignments that I have in different parts of the country. So these are contract assignments for which I can pay about $55 per hour corp to corp. It'd be probably closer to $50 on a W-2, and the reason for the difference is, frankly, financing costs more if you're on a W-2. So, it's not coming out of my pocket. So we can help you incorporate if that's your preferred way of doing this. But when all is said and done, there isn't going to be a difference in what we can pay. And I have 2 jobs for mobility NCEs in Toronto, 2 in Puerto Rico, and 1 in Seattle, Washington, where they want someone with great knowledge of IP networking and IP routing protocols, ATM and frame relay technologies, great knowledge around GP, RS, UMTS network architecture, SGSN, GGSN, UMTS, and OSS call routing, call flows, and carrier class call manager. Then I've got 2 assignments, one each in Dallas and Kansas City for a RAN engineer. If you have to ask me what that is, you don't have the background. At least 3 years of experience with GSR 12,000, CSR1, CSR3, ASR 9000, 1000 series routers. Again, the same kind of rate here. These are all projected to be about 1-year assignments. Then I have a role with a client that's a global consulting firm that's looking for an Azure architect. The role involves approximately 80% travel. They're looking for people with Azure experience who've worked in architecture and done Azure architecture at a senior manager level. Figure going to about 150 on a base plus bonus. That doesn't mean they'll pay you 150, but figure a range of 130 to 150 plus bonus. Then I have a role for a risk modeler in Old Greenwich, Connecticut, to assist a team of portfolio managers and researchers with creating in-house risk factors and use the in-house simulator to backtest strategies and evaluate their performance. Must have a background in econometrics and multivariate statistics and be able to program in C++, Python, or Perl. Familiarity with factor modeling and up-to-date on the developments in empirical finance is a plus. Well-spoken, degree, good school. This firm will pay relocation. They'll do visa transfers. Then I have a role for a software developer for that same firm, where they're looking for someone to join a team of developers to design low latency trading solutions for trading of financial instruments worldwide. A strong background in Unix C++ with good knowledge of socket and multi-thread programming. Familiarity with Perl is helpful. Trading systems development is a preference but not necessary. So if you're qualified, interested, and available in any of these positions, please email your resume to me at thebiggamehunter@cysny.com. If you know someone who might fit one of these roles better than you, invite them to forward a resume to me and mention your name because, frankly, I pay a finder's fee if you refer someone to me in my place. Lastly, if you want me to have a copy of your resume but don't fit any of these jobs, send it to me, but in the subject line, put the phrase on spec so I can look at it at my convenience. I have more jobs at my website, which is jeffaltman.com. Come over there, explore. There's a lot of useful information there, plus a complimentary subscription to No BS Job Search Advice. If you want to advertise on this show, send an email to me at thebiggamehunter@gmail.com. Happy to carry job listings, for you here, and they'll be very inexpensive to carry. I look forward to helping you next week with more No BS job search advice. Have a great day. Take care.